Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So today I woke up with a huge piece of news and massive change to the game, and we're going to be breaking it down. Now this is not going to be my full kind of opinion video. This is going to be a short, quicker, snappier version of me breaking down the changes without giving too much of my own personal opinion and inputs in regards of these changes themselves. So the point is, it's quite a long post. There's quite a lot of information, and I know that it might be tricky to take it all in. So I have kind of condensed it and broken it all down for most part about the most important things that you need to know. So first things first, there will be no buffs in February, which they did not give any reason as to why at all whatsoever. In my opinion, there is no real excuse for not doing their job. It's just that I think, like, by the looks of it, they saw an opportunity to be lazy and they went with it. Because most of these things that we're talking about will only take effect in March, so February had nothing to do with it. But let's carry on with that. In March, we will have value update to Psycho Man, and that is it. So only one buff, which is again quite sad state of affairs, which I can't imagine many people are too satisfied with. They did say that there will be future buffs still. They are not abandoning Champion Buff program, but they're going to be kind of doing those buffs as and when they have the ability to do so. So clearly less than 2 per month, which again is quite sad state of affairs in my opinion, because they went from 442 to 333 to 222 to maybe 1 or 2 whenever they feel like it, which is sad because champion buffs is like one of those very few things that pretty much everybody is looking forward to. That I think unanimously in this game, there aren't many areas or things that Kabam do with MCOC that has as much support and as much positive player feedback around as Champion Buff program. And, it just sucks there. I'm definitely not happy at all with them reducing Champion Buffs. They did commit to 2 buffs in April, but they didn't specify what kind of buffs they're going to be. They also said that there will be animation and ability updates to Gamora, Storm, and Deadpool X-Force. But again, we do not have timeline. It might as well happen in November for all we know, or, I don't know, October or September. We do not know when these champions are going to get their animation and ability updates. Now, the second big thing is that they will be implementing a 5-point rating system for every champion in the game, and they will be adding a community member. So it's either going to be somebody that's super active in forums or maybe a YouTuber. Whoever it is, good for them, happy they got the job. I feel no real specific need to speculate on who it is, and either way, no matter who it is, good for them. But this 5-point rating system is basically gonna give score to every champion from 1 to 5 in damage, survivability, utility, and ease of use. And this is where some of the initial problems for me start as well, because if they are going to be assigning these points, somebody has to do them. And again, it's going to be an extremely subjective thing. It's likely going to be something similar to, I don't know, taking a tier list advice of somebody who has never played, top tier of the AQ, top tiers of Alliance War, and hasn't done the hardest content in the game. Because I genuinely do have a lot of problems trusting Kabam employees with this type of rating system and thinking it's going to be accurate. Now, I do think that there will be, some generic takeaways that you can have from it. I do think it could potentially be quite helpful for newer players in case you're looking for champions with more survivability. You can look that up, for instance, and stuff like that. But when it comes to top tier players, I think this point system is going to be absolutely meaningless. I think there's very little confidence in Kabam and their ability to analyze the data effectively and accurately. But let's see how it goes. Maybe it's a very good idea and helpful tool for a lot of new summoners. I'm personally very skeptical of that. But the biggest change here is 6 months balance program for all new champions and bigger beta tests. Keep in mind the word is balance, not buff. So that means that they will go both ways, up and down. And the timeline is going to look like when a champion gets released, for 3 months, Kabam is going to be gathering live data from the players that do have this champion and are using him. Then they're going to take 1 month to about implement the changes, tune it up or down. And then 2 more months for people in beta servers to test out how they have changed the character and get feedback from them. Now, without trying to be overly negative, there are many good things that can come out of this, because one of the things that Kabam has talked about in this post is how often they are extremely reluctant to release, powerful champions, and they often tune them down, and we know that to be the case. Like from Kabam Broccoli, that Ebony Maw was meant to be a very powerful champion, but he got severely tuned down before the release, similar to Mangog and many other champions. So with this program in play, we are much less likely, in theory, at the very least, in theory, we are much less likely to get more Psycho Men and Super Skrulls and champions like that. This could allow Kabam to increase overall quality and, power of the champions that they are releasing. But here comes the problem. We will not know if it's too much power or if it's too good, and whether those champions will get tuned down. And that is going to create two big problems. First of all, competitive MCOC in the highest tiers, those 6 months the champion might potentially be overtuned will, create bigger gaps from haves and have-nots. If you have if you are somebody who acquires the majority of the newer champions pretty much immediately, which is not most of the players, you will have the benefit of playing with potentially superbly overtuned champion for 6 months before it gets undertuned, and then everybody else, most of the player base, gets access to it, because that's how this game works. Most of the people don't get the new champion for first 5-6 months anyways. And the second biggest problem is, obviously, you're going to have a lot more trouble trusting Kabam when it comes to investing money in the game, when it comes to grinding for new champions, investing your time, and when it comes to ranking these new champions up, if you do not know that they are going to get, tuned down. Now, let's take a look at this realistically. I don't think we have an example of a champion that has been absolutely ruined by being undertuned. They changed Kal, they, changed Namor. It's not like Namor is a complete awful champion right now. But again, taking a look at the Namor example, I don't think there is a single player that would say that Namor needed any change to begin with. I don't think there is a single player that said that Namor's regeneration is somehow OP, which it isn't. And I personally do find it quite hypocritical that Kabam found it necessary to change Namor's regeneration, undertune it significantly, and then at the same time, buffed Diablo, who has like tons and tons more regen. We buffed King Groot, who has insane regen, and then we have like Kingpin and Immortal Abominations and whoever else who just consistently regenerate anyways and anyhow. And I think that is one of the bigger issues here, where I personally have a lot of trouble trusting Kabam's ability to make these decisions, accurately enough. A perfect example here is when they were looking at Invisible Woman and they deduced that Invisible Woman needs no tuning, for instance. When in fact Invisible Woman is clearly the most awful member of Fantastic Four, and tuning is 100% the result of it. If Invisible Woman didn't need 50 fragility debuffs but only needed 10, and they would be 5 times more effective, and there was some sort of way how to protect her invisibility, like with Guillotine, for instance, heavy attack, you have some invisibility shield instead of combo shield or something of the sort, Invisible Woman could have been a very, very good champion. The fact that there was apparently no change needed just shows again that, that was an error. They had all the data, they read all the data about Invisible Woman, and they figured out she's fine. Well, she isn't. Nobody really uses her. Nobody likes to play her. And she's, a defender that's mediocre at that, and, pretty much nobody invests in her for offensive purposes ever. And that's just one very quick example, and I'm sure more and more will come. I think this change could potentially have been very good change if Kabam would have a lot of goodwill and good faith with their player base. But unfortunately, with Kabam's reputation and with their past inadequacies, errors, and everything else, they just don't. I personally do not believe Kabam to make this best decisions on my behalf. Therefore, for me, it's very hard to go along with this. And overall, I personally view it as a negative change. But we're going to leave most of that for the second video, where I'm going to be breaking down these points in more and finer details and giving my extended opinions on them. But meanwhile, let me know what you guys think about this change. What do you guys think about the champions being balanced every 6 months again after the release? About 5-point rating system, about scaling back of the buffs. Let me know all that, and I'm gonna catch you guys soon. See ya. Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about